In this tutorial, we're going to look at the candidate learning record, that crucial index map of all the criteria on the course. You'll find this in your portfolio. Let's have a quick look. Level 2 Certificate in Counselling Skills has 7 modules or learning outcomes. These learning outcomes are categorized and listed on the CLR at the top of each section. Learning outcome 1 is use counselling skills ethically and safely. Number 2 is establish and sustain the boundaries of the helping role. 3 is work empathically as a helper. 4, focus on the helpee's needs and concerns. 5, use self-awareness in helping work. 6, use a range of counselling skills to facilitate the helping interaction. And 7, the final learning outcome, use feedback and reflection to enhance counselling skills. These are your headline learning outcomes. As you'll see as I've scrolled through, there are some sub-categories alongside this. These are the criteria, the specific parts that we need to see demonstrated and evidenced during the course. These you'll see on the left unnumbered sequentially, taking the learning outcome number and then each criteria after that. So the first being 1.1, 1.2 and so on. This is repeated throughout. So you'll see here's an example 2.1, 2.2 and so on. Each criteria is looking for you to demonstrate a particular skill or show an understanding of a particular insight or technique. These are the criteria we're going to cover throughout the course, not in a linear sense, but in terms of a spiral learning environment where we will continue to pick up new criteria as we go, taking from each of the learning outcomes and building collectively a piece of coursework at the end, which we have mentioned from before, is your entire portfolio. So all this criteria has to be evidenced and met and then saved in your portfolio. So your CLR is effectively your map, your index to your portfolio. As ever with these courses, this will become increasingly clearer as you progress week upon week. So how do we expect you to be using the CLR? Firstly, it's going to be a great way to track what you have been doing and what you have achieved, as well as the gaps you need to fill before the end of the qualification. It also acts as clarity around what the actual criteria means and what you may need to provide to demonstrate that you've met and evidenced that criteria. So it becomes a very useful document as that index for your entire portfolio, submitted all together for your tutor to sign off. So let's look at one section just to get a sense of it, but this will apply in some form or other to all the other learning outcomes. Right. The top line here is learning outcome, use counselling skills ethically and safely. We have 3 subcategories here, the criteria 1.1, 1.2 and 1.3, each focusing on a particular aspect of counselling skills which are demonstrated ethically and safely. Those are your core criteria. So often when you're in class, if your tutor's suggesting we will have a focused conversation on a criteria, they may refer to the CLR, citing 1.1. You can then check this, see which criteria they mean, and that will inform the discussion. It's understandable that that criteria may seem vague and abstract and maybe unclear at this stage. So on the CLR, to the right of that column, you're going to see the candidate guidance to criteria. These are bullet points to guide you and help you understand the kind of things you need to include in the evidence provided, be it written work, discussion, or the skills sessions. These guide you to get understanding of where we need to make sure we are seeing and demonstrating understanding and technique and skills. So for 1.1, the headline criteria is use counselling skills within an ethical framework. The CPCAB asks us to guide students towards looking at demonstrating understanding safe and ethical practice and why it is needed, and explore features of safe practice. This informs you of what we need to be seeing in those pieces of evidence. Moving on to 1.2, work within personal limits of ability. Here we have 3 bullet points as guidance to how to fulfill and complete that criteria, which will relate to the criteria. They'll give you an overall general kind of question to answer. It's your role to then come to the CLR when it comes to the writing, review that particular criteria to better understand what to include. So your tutor's homework will be a headline question to reflect on, come back to the CLR, look at the bullet points, check what you need to include, and make sure at the end of the day it speaks to the main criteria. So you can look at the guidance on here, the bullet points, but as long as, say for example 1.1, you are demonstrating and showing understanding around ethical framework within counselling skills, that is the main one to aim for. That will be the one we need to see evidenced, and a couple of those bullet points are the ways of doing it. So if your tutor was to say write about 1.3, you can look at the guidance to get a better understanding of what that should include, but you must go back to 1.3 and check that you've written enough about enabling the helpee to find additional sources of support where appropriate. What is also important to highlight at this stage is with the evidence you need to gather, be it documents, testimonies or tutor observations, and whatever form they are, you will always need to have 2 pieces of evidence. Your portfolio must include a reference to each of these pieces of work. So as you'll see in the box on the right here, we have the title Portfolio Reference. When you've achieved the criteria through your assessed work and returned by your tutor, you'll be placing in here your portfolio reference of where the evidence has been stored so that your tutor at the end of the course can come back and check that it is verifiable and you have actually met the criteria. So as you progress through the course, you will get set work, you'll have observation feedback, you'll have your testimonies, tutorials, will all offer you opportunities to get evidence. And as you collect the evidence, once they've been assessed and verified as being achieved, you can then add them to your CLR. By the end of the course, all these boxes under portfolio reference should be filled out and completed with the evidence. So we can go and check and making sure that everything is in order and verified. So that's the central purpose of your CLR, a way to make sure you can meet the criteria and how to do that. It also helps you record where you've kept your evidence and gives you a roadmap to the gaps you may need to fill as you approach the end of the course.